growing news website in the UK. We're truly humbled, and we couldn't have done it without you.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The M74 is currently closed southbound between Junction 15 and Junction 16 due to a collision with traffic being redirected. Commuters on the M4 westbound from Taibach to Langevelach face congestion. In West Berkshire, the M6 northbound between Junction 9 and Junction 10 has an accident causing delays, expected to clear by 8:30 tonight. The M25 clockwise in Surrey has a broken down vehicle closing 2 of 4 lanes, causing 1.5 hours of delay. And on the trains, there are major disruptions affecting Gatwick Express and Southern services. Stay up to date at gbnews.com.
We could be delivering the perfect Christmas to you this year. There's £30,000 in tax-free cash to make 2026 the best year yet. A further £10,000 cash to spend on gifts for all the family. There's £1,000 to spend in your favourite supermarket. And a festively themed GB News goodie bag. And we'll get it all to you in time for the big day. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dewbs & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
All too often, people will be sitting at home watching a press conference live, and they'll hear loads of questions being asked, and they'll be thinking, that's not my question. That's not my concern.
We don't care whose feathers we ruffle. We ask the questions that you want answering.
You're all standing on the street protesting and want to have an open discussion.
My name's Patrick Christie's. I do a show for GB News in the UK. Is it possible to talk to you quickly?
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, this is the best view ever of Whitehall, looking out across all the tractor drivers of England who've come together to make their point.
Hello, so as you can see, I'm here in Westminster as the protest begins.
Yes, I'm very much in the thick of it.
Look, we're challenging narratives here at GB News, and that's what sets us apart.
Hello there, it's 6 o'clock. I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is Dewbs & Co. Coming up tonight, of course, it's Armistice Day, so let's take a moment to recognise our veterans, and I've been speaking to one. Also, do you remember this from my show last night?
There are 500,000 more people now in employment.
Well, yeah, awkwardly, today new figures out show that unemployment is up, wage growth is down, and payroll jobs are down. What a mess. And speaking of messes, it turns out there's another not one, not two, but 3 prisoners on the run after being mistakenly released. What are we doing? Do we live in some kind of clown world right now, or what? And of course, you've all been following the twists and turns when it comes to the Bell Hotel. We'll have the very latest on that court verdict today. Sit down and get comfortable, ladies and gents. There is a lot we need to discuss. To do just that, my panel tonight, I've got the Polesdown academic Matt Goodwin. Alongside him, I've got the Labour councillor Sebastian Salek. But before we get stuck in, let's give you your 6 o'clock news headlines.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Good evening to you. 1 minute past 6 here in the GB newsroom. The Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandy, has described the BBC as a light on the hill for people here and across the world. She's been addressing the Commons about the crisis engulfing the broadcaster. Ms Nandy says the BBC's faced criticism from all sides for its coverage of highly contentious and contested issues, but that politicians should consider what is at stake. Well, it comes after the outgoing BBC Director General, Tim Davie, told staff the corporation must stand up for its journalism a day after President Trump threatened to sue the corporation for $1 billion. Ms Nandy says those on all sides of the House should remember the BBC is an institution for people in the UK.
Those in this House attacking the BBC from left and right for not expressing views they agree with should consider just what is at stake. There is a fundamental difference between raising serious concerns over editorial failings and members of this House launching a sustained attack on the institution itself. Because the BBC is not just a broadcaster, it is a national institution that belongs to us all.
The High Court's rejected an attempt to prevent asylum seekers being housed at a hotel in Essex. Epping Forest District Council had claimed the owners of the Bell Hotel were in breach of planning rules. Mr Justice Mould dismissed the claim on Tuesday, ruling an injunction was not an appropriate means of enforcing planning control. The hotel became the scene of protests earlier this year when a migrant living there was convicted of sexually assaulting a woman and a teenage girl. The Home Office insists the government will close all asylum hotels, and they are working to find alternative accommodation, for example, in disused military barracks. The Justice Secretary has confirmed 3 mistakenly released prisoners remain at large. David Lammy told MPs none of the 3 are convicted sex offenders, but said a potential 4th release in error earlier this month is being investigated, and that the prisoner in question may still be on the run. The Justice Secretary has been facing questions in the Commons after his department confirmed earlier that 91 prisoners have been freed by mistake since April this year. Last week it emerged 2 inmates were released in error following the high-profile wrongful freeing of Hadish Kabatu, the now deported migrant, at the heart of those protests in Epping. An NHS manager who sexually abused and raped young girls after grooming them on Snapchat has been jailed for 28 years. Paul Lipscomb pleaded guilty to 34 offences against 6 girls he met on the social media platform, including sexual grooming, sexual assault and 2 counts of rape of a child under the age of 13. A woman caught with £5 billion worth of Bitcoin has been jailed for 11 years and 8 months for money laundering. Kian Jimin was caught by police when they broke into an Airbnb in a suburb of York last April. She vanished and went on the run before that after officers seized more than £61,000 worth of Bitcoin, 61,000 Bitcoins in a raid of her rented £5 million home near Hampstead Heath. Police say she fled China in 2017 after arriving in the UK on a false passport, and she used funds stolen from thousands of Chinese pensioners. It is the country's biggest cryptocurrency seizure. Work and Pensions Secretary Pat McFadden has accepted there are big challenges in the labour market. The latest figures show unemployment has risen to 5% in the 3 months to September, the highest rate since early 2021. Average wage growth was down 0.1% to its lowest level since April 2022. Mr McFadden says he's particularly concerned about young people not in work, training or education. That's it for the moment. I'll be back with more at 7. Now it's over to Michelle.
Oh, hello, everybody. I was flicking my hair and having a bit of a giggle then, but no, back to serious business. That ended quicker than I thought. I am Michelle Dewberry. This is Dewbs & Co, keeping you company until 7 o'clock tonight. Alongside me, I've got my panel, the pollster academic and GB News presenter, Matt Goodwin, and alongside him, I've got the Labour councillor, Sebastian Salek. Good evening, gents. You're both very welcome tonight. Of course, as are each and every single one of you at home too. So tell me, ladies and gents, what is on your mind this evening? You can join the conversation in all the usual ways. You can email me, gbviews@gbnews.com. You can go to the website, gbnews.com/yoursay. Of course, you can tweet or you can X me. There are so many things that we need to discuss tonight, ladies and gents. Of course, it's Armistice Day. I'll come on to that in just a second. I also want to talk to you about the absolute ridiculousness of this country when it comes to our prisons, because yet again, not one, not two, but three accidentally released prisoners remain on the run. It is absolutely pathetic, and it's also quite concerning, is it not? But what is the answer to it all, and also what is to blame? Also, let me just tell you this. I want to get to this at some point in the programme. Get this. A learner driver has failed their theory test 128 times. Now, I don't mean to be rude, but I'm going to be. If you can't pass your theory test after 127 times, I would suggest that you might not be best placed to be on our roads. You can tell me whether or not you think that I'm being harsh. I'm looking at some of these people. Someone else passed it 75 attempts it took them to pass their theory test. Maybe I am being harsh. It has been known before. But just tell me if you think you need all of those attempts before you can even get onto the theory test, should you be on the roads of Britain. But look, on to very serious matters. Armistice Day. I had the great pleasure today of talking actually to a 100-year-old veteran. I shall bring you a little bit of that conversation slightly later. But of course, many of us fell silent today at 11 o'clock this morning. I always find it, Matt, very, very poignant, actually. I really do try my hardest to stop what I'm doing, switch on whatever it is, TV, radio, whatever I'm closest to, and just kind of really take stock, because it's easy. We sit on this programme, we all rant about our day-to-day woes and whatever. It's easy, actually, to forget the great sacrifice that so many very young men and often women really made towards this country.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was watching the coverage on GB News, actually, and I thought the channel, obviously I'm a little bit biased, but I think it did a wonderful job. What we saw today was a symbol of the nation. It's the continuity that runs between our ancestors, the living, and those who are yet to be born. So it's an incredibly powerful symbol of that beating heart of who we are. So remembrance is, I think everyone in the country, they know people watching this show. They've got grandparents, great-grandparents. You know, we've all grown up on the stories of sacrifice, duty, obligation, and it's an incredibly important day.
It certainly is. Sebastian?
No, I completely agree. I mean, I think the danger now is that as we move further and further away from those wars, the number of people who are alive to remember it is sadly dwindling. And what we have to make sure is that we don't put that in our past. We don't let it become a sort of gesture that we perform every year. We remember the sacrifices that were made and remember the lessons from it, and we implement that both in our politics but also in our daily lives.
Honestly, I spoke to a man earlier on. He's a fellow Hull man, actually, and it was just such a lovely privilege, actually, to be able to talk to him, 100 years old. I'll bring you that story a little bit later on in the programme. One of the things that touched me as well, I saw another veteran talking, actually, earlier on in the week, Matt, and he said, and it made me really sad, that he didn't feel that the sacrifice that many of his colleagues had made was worth it when he looked at the state of the nation today.
I saw that interview myself, and of course it's gone viral around the world. I think that veteran has also appeared now on American television because they've been fascinated. Here we have somebody who's looking around Britain today, and let's be honest, he's thinking like many of us. He's seeing the things that we're seeing, but he is able to draw that direct link between the greatest generation and our finest hour, and the absolute carnage and chaos and managed decline that we're living in today. And he just sort of threw his hands up and he said, you know what, actually, he didn't think the sacrifice was worth it. He didn't think it was worth it, given the country that we have today. And, you know, those voices are incredibly important because I think they challenge so much of the narrative in Westminster, in this Labour government, which has also this week reached the lowest ever level of support it's ever had in polling, 15%. One 15%. And that pensioner, that veteran, I think was speaking for millions of people in this country who know Britain is so much better than this, but we've completely lost our way.
Sebastian?
I mean, I respect the view of anybody who fought for this country, but I'm also very grateful that they did, because we still live in a democracy. You look at a lot of even our European neighbours, and they've been through revolutions, they've been through coups, all sorts of political instability in just the last 100 years. We have that continuity, we have that stability, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. And I think that's a really important thing to hold.
I'm just going to ask, can I ask you one question? Do you think that veteran fought for what we have seen in places like Birmingham, where Jews are not welcome in our second city, where local independent Muslim MPs have been recorded this week saying that they want to take over Birmingham, the West Midlands, and eventually the UK? Did he fight for them?
I think it's really hard to say what somebody going to war in 1939 or whenever they did go to war was fighting for almost 100 years in the future. Certainly, I want to live in a country where Jews do feel safe, and I think more often than not, they tell us that they don't. That's really concerning. Wherever that threat is coming from, we have to be really steadfast on that.
I did also watch that MP that you're talking about, the Muslim MP, and that kind of raised a few eyebrows, didn't it? Just tell us more about what you're referring to.
Well, this was a leaked recording of a meeting where Iqbal Mohammed was speaking, an independent Muslim MP from Dewsbury and Batley, and the footage is, I think, a terrifying glimpse into the future of our country, because what he says openly in this meeting, where, based on the footage, it appears that only Muslims are present, he says, basically, we will take over parts of Birmingham, we will take over the city of Birmingham, we will take over the West Midlands, and then we will take over the UK. In other words, he is saying out loud what lots of organisations like Muslim Brotherhood and others openly say they want to do, which is infiltrate political institutions in Western societies through non-violent means to eventually take over those societies. And here we have a guy, not a random loon, a member of Parliament, sitting in Westminster on the green benches, actually saying out loud what many other people, presumably in our country, secretly think. And I find it deeply, deeply concerning.
I mean, so I certainly wouldn't condemn that at all. I don't think there should be.
Well, I hope you would condemn that.
No, do you mean
Sorry.
you condemn it, or you...
I think, let's speak in simple language, I think it's a bad thing.
Right.
And what I would say, though, is we have to be really careful in times like this that we don't tar all Muslims living in this country with the same brush, because I would wager that the majority of them don't think like that and don't want to form secret networks and infiltrate political institutions. That would be a slightly bizarre thing to think.
But you see, this is what happens when the Labour Party enables Muslim sectarianism, which is what the Labour Party has done for the last 30 years, because you've used, and I know you're not here to speak solely for the Labour Party, but you're a Labour Party supporter.
Yeah.
Your party has used clan networks within British Muslim communities to mobilise votes, to organise support. You've turned a blind eye to the way in which lots of Muslims put religion ahead of their loyalty to the nation state. We know that from large-scale surveys. We've had a great survey by Whitestone Institute, which shows about 70% of British Muslims say that they identify first and foremost with their religion, not their identity as a British citizen. And that, to me, is really concerning, because yes, this is just one video, one clip from one meeting, but it is also telling us where we are going if we do not change track, if we do not end mass immigration, if we do not end two-tier multiculturalism, and if we do not stop enabling these kinds of people to get into frontline politics.
I just think there's a massive non sequitur here, because yes, there are concerning meetings happening in the country. I wouldn't deny that at all. But politics is about courting certain voter groups, whether that is Muslims or women or the LGBT community or the rural or coastal community. That is what you do in politics. You appeal to groups of people.
That is
what's going on here.
That is what you do in sectarian societies like Lebanon. It's not what you do in a country like the United Kingdom. The difference between you and I is you think politics should be about courting sectional interests. I think politics should be about the nation and speaking up for the majority of hard-working, tax-paying people, irrespective of what individual religion or minority group they belong to. This is the problem with the Labour Party. You've fallen so far into sectional interests, you've lost sight of what the nation is, what our national story is. So now you're squabbling and you're fighting because you're trying to keep the Muslims on board, you're trying to keep the woke people on board, you're trying to keep the LGBT people on board, but you've got no story for the country anymore. That's why the left has unravelled over the last 25, 30 years.
Matt, both of those things hold true. Of course, it is about looking after hard-working taxpayers, but those people are divided into different groups who have different interests, who want those interests served. That's what democracy is. It's listening to people and giving them what they want.
What do you think to it? Because you are the people. You will want different things. What do you make of it all? I've got to tell you as well, the individual that Matt mentioned, he's not here to defend himself. I imagine that if he was here, he would perhaps be saying and suggesting that he said and did nothing wrong. Look, coming up after the break, I'll play you that interview with that veteran. Oh, he's a fantastic man. We also need to talk about unemployment and so much more. I'll see you in a minute.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dewbs, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Dewbs & Co. Me, Michelle Dewberry, Matt Goodwin and Sebastian Selleck alongside me. And of course, we've just been reflecting on the fact that it is Armistice Day. Many of us, of course, taking a moment to press pause and reflect actually on Armistice Day. I've got to tell you, I had the great pleasure of speaking to a veteran, 100 years old, or 100 years young, shall I say, Jim Gettings. Let's take a listen to him. So, of course, today is Armistice Day. It means a great deal to so many of us. Of course, I know that lots of you will have stopped what you were doing this morning to take those 2 minutes to take stock and remember. I'm so proud to be joined by a man that I regard as a hero. He's a man that hails from my hometown. He currently lives in Hessle. He's a Hull man, born and bred. Now, when he was 18 years old, he joined the Royal Marines. He joined the 28th Battalion, and his regiment was one of the very first to cross over into enemy lines on VE Day. I'm so pleased to say he joins me now. Jim Gettings, good evening to you. Let me ask you this. Armistice Day, what does it mean to you?
Well, it's a time to remember, isn't it? Of all the people who didn't come back home. They're the ones that we have to remember today.
And Jim, were you proud to serve your country?
Of course I was proud to serve my country. Back in 1940, we had our backs to the wall, and it was Kennedy, President Kennedy, who said, "Don't ask what my country can do for me, ask what I can do for my country." And everybody responded in that way. I went to work on a farm for my summer holidays to bring in the harvest, because all the U-boats were sinking our ships. And it was on a farm in North Yorkshire that had been a sheep farm, and he had very little staff with a lot of land. But he was made to plough it all up, to sow all corn and oats and barley. And we did that straight from school, and all we had was a little Victorian contraption that cut the corn, tied it into bundles, and we followed on, and we made stokes, and we did that day after day, and we enjoyed ourselves. And that was one of the ways in which I could help in the first place.
Let me just ask you this, Jim. You're wearing your sash, you're wearing your replacement beret, and I know that beret was your original one, was something that you had to sell. Your little girl had whooping cough, and you had to sell all of your belongings to help try and pay for her care. You've made it now to the ripe old age of 100 years old. I'm so pleased to see you as well with your beret on. What's your secret to living to 100 years old?
Avoid dying.
Oh. Jim, I was hoping you was going to tell me to drink alcohol every day or something like that. Jim, can I just say, on behalf of the nation, we want to say, GB News, myself, GB News, all of our viewers, we want to say thank you for your service. We are incredibly grateful for men like you and for everything that you did to ensure that we can have the life that we got right now. So thank you.
Well, thank you for listening to me. And God bless everybody, because we're living in very bad times again, aren't we? So God bless. Bye-bye.
Oh, Jim, I mean, that just really touched me. Did you hear that sentence literally there towards the end? Thank you for listening to me. And I've got to say, I find it so important to try and talk to the veterans, to try and listen to that experience. It means so much to them that their experiences, memories and all the rest of it are passed down through the generations as well. What a guy. I was absolutely devastated that I was hoping he was going to tell me some kind of elaborate combination of things that I had to drink every single night, the alcoholic variety to live to 100, so I could justify it when I got home, Matt Goodman. But what a guy.
Absolutely amazing. I mean, listening to these guys, it's like being transported into really not just another world, but the best of Britain. I mean, it's fantastic. And, you know, you don't see people with character that much today.
You don't, and I mean, he was telling you then he worked essentially as a farmhand when he was 16 years of age, and he was telling me when he got to the point of 18, he couldn't wait to put his uniform on. He told me earlier he was just so privileged to actually represent the country as it was then. What an honour.
Yeah, and you know what, the thing that strikes me as I get older and older is just how young these boys were when they went off to war. You learn about this stuff in school and it doesn't feel quite as impactful because you're young then, but you realise 18, 19, 20, these were boys and they were sent off to unimaginable horror.
I know, and when I look back at some of the imagery from those times, I've got a little boy, and you look at the faces of these, they were men, but ultimately they were somebody's little boys, and you looked at those faces loaded on to those boats often as well, and you looked at them and you just thought, so many of these people are not going to come home. And I tell you, we sit on this channel, you will have conversations in your own house so often. We talk now about young people, and I'm not suggesting all young people are the same, but there is a great cohort now of young people who are so weak, who are so ridiculous, who need trigger warnings wherever they kind of go. They need safe spaces. They talk about microaggressions. They talk about all this stuff. And I think you don't know you're born. You don't know you're born, and I find some of them a little bit ridiculous.
Do you know what? I see this in a slightly different way because I think so many of the boys who did come home, and they were the lucky ones, suffered so much when they came back because of the things that they saw and the things that happened to them. The mental repercussions of that were severe, and I'm pleased to see young people a little bit more aware of their mental health, full stop. And I think we can learn a lot from these men and boys with our new generation.
There's been aware of your mental health, which of course is healthy to be so, in the same way to be aware of your physical health. But then, do you not feel a little bit that it might have gone a little bit too far now? You have about 1 million people, young people, so-called NEETs, not in employment, education or training. Many of those cite things like, oh, my mental health. Don't think it's gone a bit too far?
It's so hard to say because you can't make a broad generalisation on 1 million people, but I mean, I think you can't overlook the pandemic and the impact of that as well, and that was a very traumatic...
Hang on a second, sorry. We've just got new data today that is showing what's going on in this country in terms of the welfare regime under Labour, OK, since Labour came into power. When you guys came into power, we had 2.7 million people claiming benefits, right, living on benefits with no requirement to look for work. 2.7 million when Labour came in. The figures that were released about an hour ago show that under Labour's watch, the 2.7 million has now climbed above, for the very first time, 4 million people. And by the way, we are also giving universal credit welfare to a record 1.24 million people who are not even British. Now, this has all happened under Labour's watch, OK? Now, the elites in Oxford, in Cambridge, in Chelsea, they're not going to care about this. But the ordinary working people, the alarm clock class, who are actually having to set their alarm clocks at night because they're having to get up in the morning, they're having to go to work, they're having to pay taxes, they're having to contribute to this economy, those figures are an absolute disgrace. And Labour, Keir Starmer, Rachel Reeves, they are the people who have given us those figures.
I think there are two parts to this. The first is something that's really core to my politics, which is that I don't really mind how rich people get, but I don't want anyone to fall below a certain standard of living. I think we're all worthy of a certain dignity, and that's what the welfare system does in principle, and it's really important that we allow that to continue. Now, look, are too many people on welfare? Yes, they are. But I would wager that the majority of these people don't want to be claiming benefits. If you're in work, you're getting pay, you're getting dignity, you're getting purpose, you're getting direction. There's so much value to working, and I think there are a lot of people who are trapped in the system because it isn't working for them.
No, what Labour has done is it's taken a national welfare regime and it's turned it into an international welfare regime. The people watching this show out there, they are struggling with the cost of living crisis, and they are spending £10 billion every year on welfare benefits for people who are not British. On what level is this acceptable? Welfare, remember, Clement Attlee and the old Labour politicians, they understood this. Today's left-wing politicians don't. They understood that the only reason people will pay into the welfare state is if they trust and they support people who live next to them, that they know that generosity will be returned to them. What you're doing now with our welfare state is you're destroying that trust and you're destroying that social contract, because people are being asked to pay into a system that is subsidising people they never asked to be in the country to begin with, and who often don't even speak our national language. So what you're doing is you're undermining the welfare state from within. You're actually blowing apart the welfare state.
What would you do if somebody who lives here, has indefinite leave to remain, has lived here for 20 years, hasn't got British citizenship, falls on hard times, needs to claim welfare? What happens then?
I support the Reform Party. I think all welfare benefits should be restricted to British nationals only.
So what would happen to that person?
I imagine they would have to, let me think about this, get a job.
And we know at the moment it's quite hard to get a job.
No,
many people, British or otherwise, are struggling to get a job.
That's actually not what's going on. What's going on, Seb...
Speak to your colleagues out there in the newsroom. I've spoken to them. They've told me how difficult it is for their cohort to get a job.
I'm very...
People with degrees. So let's go back to our 20-year veteran of Britain who's not British.
I'm going to answer the question that you...
The first point. Let's not skip ahead. What happens to that person? They can't get a job. It's not that simple. What happens?
The Labour Party has taken an active, conscious decision to prioritise people...
OK, Matt, so you're not answering the question.
I'm answering the question. I'm looking at you and I'm answering your question. Your party has prioritised people who are not from this country in the labour market over our own people, the people out there that you're talking about. I want them to have jobs. I don't want the jobs that they should have going to people who are not from this country.
Specifically,
I'm telling
about
you.
Our case study, our person who's lived here for 20 years, isn't British, has fallen on hard times. What happens to them?
They shouldn't have access to the welfare state.
And then what happens to them?
They can get a job, or they could go to...
And we've established that getting a job is very hard. What happens to them?
I'm answering the question.
Well, no, you don't have an answer.
Sorry, the flip side of your point is we have an international mass welfare regime for tens of millions of people. It's not sustainable.
My point is that if you live in this country and you have a job and you pay taxes into the system... regardless of what your citizenship status is, when you fall on hard times, we owe it to you to support you to get back on your feet.
Yeah, no, hang on, Michelle. The problem with that...
No, but hold on, I want to clarify what you're saying. So are you making it contingent then on whether or not you've paid tax into the system?
I'm not making it contingent, but I'm saying that's very important. It plays to the principle of giving in and taking out.
Hang on, sorry. There's a very critical point here that you're being a little bit misleading about. The vast majority of people on indefinite leave to remain earn below the average salary in this country. So when you say they have contributed, I'm afraid that, as even the Office for Budget Responsibility shows, they are a net fiscal cost to the people watching this show, because they are often not in high-skilled jobs. They're often delivery drivers. They're low-wage, low-skilled drivers.
Then, Matt, ask
they are
yourself,
not making...
why have they come here? They've not come here for a jolly. They've not come in here on holiday. They've come here to do jobs that we either can't or won't do.
So, on the one hand, the people out there who you say want to get jobs and they want to find jobs, on the one hand, you're saying they can't, right? But on the other hand, you're saying we should give those jobs to people who are not from our country because we should feel sorry for them.
That's not what I'm saying. In fact, I believe that we should be training people in Britain and creating incentives for employers to hire here before hiring from abroad. But the reality is that kind of regime isn't able to be created overnight. And so we have to take in talent from abroad, regardless of whether that's
we don't have to do that.
Or whether that's
we do not have to do that. No, we do not have to do that.
Look at what happens if we don't do that.
No, we don't.
The NHS collapses in on itself.
This is one of the biggest myths going.
Right, Sebastian, stop being ridiculous. The NHS is
Michelle, come on. Come on. Listen to what I said, Michelle. Listen to what I said. If we send all of our immigrant workforce from the NHS home, the NHS will collapse.
I'm sorry. How many British kids? How many British kids were turned away from medical schools last year? Do you know?
I don't know. I think you're about to tell me.
18,000. Why were they turned away?
I don't know.
18,000 kids with the grades to go to medical schools. Why were they turned away from the NHS?
Why do you think it was?
I'm going to tell you the answer.
Hang on, from the NHS or from medical school?
From medical schools. Because we have politicians in this country who think it is cheaper and easier to import less well-qualified workers from abroad than prioritise our own children.
Why is it cheaper?
Because they don't have to train them up. They come over, they do something called the PLAB examination,
and this is
they come into the NHS.
I'm agreeing with you.
No, you're not.
Talking over me, but I am agreeing with you. We need the systems in place to train British children and give them opportunities.
Because I'm going to talk over the pair of you, because you're both arguing about benefits and all the rest of it and how much we spend on benefits. But both of your parties, Reform and Labour, both want to lift the two-child benefit cap. So, by definition, both of you want to increase the welfare bill.
No. There's a fundamental difference between Labour and Reform on this issue. The Reform Party wants to encourage people to have children. They want to encourage people who are in families, for those families to grow, because we have a demographic crisis that nobody in Westminster wants to talk about. Our birth rate is too low. We're not having enough children. That's why they use mass immigration to try and fill the hole.
Yeah.
So in order to encourage people to have more children, you need to support those families that have 2, 3, 4, 5 children. The difference between the Labour Party and Reform Party is the Labour Party will basically give that support to anybody. What the Reform Party will do is say, actually, that support will be restricted to British people, because we believe that culturally coherent nations that are made up of people who have been in this country, who contribute to this country, who speak the language, who share our values, who share our ways of life, we believe that the British people should be prioritised. That's how a nation-state works. We're not in some sort of international hotel where anybody can come in and anybody can leave.
Culturally coherent.
Yeah.
If somebody comes over here, they contribute, they learn the language, but they happen to be of a different nationality, you would not give it to them.
No, it ultimately depends.
You wouldn't. That's, by the logic you've just laid down, you wouldn't give it to them. And I would consider them to be culturally coherent.
If they're a British citizen, if they're a UK national...
Well, no, you don't have to be a British citizen. You can, let's come back to our case study. You've been here for 20 years, you speak the language, you're integrated, you have friends here, you give to your community. You wouldn't give it to them.
If they're not a UK national, no.
Why not?
Because I believe in what makes a nation-state sustainable, which is prioritising your own people.
We broadly do.
Then what's a disagreement?
There is a moment that we can pause on. Sebastian has just said he feels that we broadly do prioritise our own people. I can tell you, I certainly disagree with that.
Me too.
I can hear my viewers shouting at the screen.
I can too. Not a popular view in this room.
Well, it's not a popular view, not just in this room, but actually out there in actual reality. I don't know where you live and how much reality you actually see. It's not just about people on the sofas at home watching this programme or in their cars listening on the radio. It's about wandering down streets, seeing how many British homeless people there are. It's about seeing how many British families and British people are on the housing list. They cannot get a home, whereas if you get on a not-so-small boat, you can find yourself in a hotel and a HMO property within literally a click of the finger. If you regard that as prioritising the British people, I don't really know what to say to that, Sebastian. You can have your say. In all the usual ways, we need to talk about another farce after the break. So-called accidental prisoner release. You won't even believe this. Not one, not two, 3 other criminals on the run having been mistakenly released. See you in a second.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
A lot of fine weather at the moment across the Med, but whilst it's warm in Spain, there is some wet and windy weather moving through Madeira, approaching the Channel Islands and also affecting Portugal. Later, that's going to push through parts of Spain, but ahead of it we've got a southerly airflow and above average temperatures, a lot of sunshine through Italy into Greece as well. Keen breeze here, 1 or 2 showers, and you can see that unsettled weather affecting Tenerife on Thursday.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening. It's time for your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Through the next 24 hours, there will be more rain to come for many places, but also some dry and bright weather, particularly across a central slice of the UK. Now, we currently have an area of low pressure out towards the west, and this is driving some blustery winds and some wet weather due to a frontal system that's marching its way across. We have a front clearing away towards the north as we go overnight, but lingering across the far north of Scotland, and then a front pushing eastwards, but also lingering lingering across some southern southeastern parts, so a fair bit of rain to come. But in between those two wetter areas where things will stay pretty mild, there's some drier, clearer weather, and here things could turn a little fresh. Some rural spots could drop into low single figures perhaps. But in the south, where we have this cloud and rain, it is going to be a wet and blustery start to the day for many places. The rain could be quite heavy, particularly in the southwest. Across much of Wales and central England, dry but cloudy to start. Brighter across much of Northern Ireland, Northern England and southern Scotland. Across the rest of Scotland, though, quite cloudy, outbreaks of rain, and some of the rain could be a little bit heavy at times as well. As we go through the day, some of that rain across parts of Scotland, well, that's going to continue, may edge a little bit further southwards towards the borders area. Meanwhile, the heavier, more persistent rain in the south, that pushes its way northwards, and that's going to spread across Wales, the Midlands and into northern England later on as well. It is still mild out there at the moment, especially so towards the southeast. Once that rain clears away, there'll be some brightness, and so we're looking at temperatures reaching around 16 Celsius. Then Thursday, a bit of a messy day for many places. Some rain across parts of Scotland, northern England and Northern Ireland. Bit of rain in the far south of England as well. Drier, brighter across the Midlands and Wales and the far north of Scotland, seeing a few showers. And then on Friday, colder air pushing into northern parts. Meanwhile, some heavy rain and strong winds affecting some southern areas. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Britain, for helping us reach 8 million followers across social media. Thank you for making us a part of your daily life.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Eastbound traffic on the M8 between junctions 3 and 2 is restricted due to a collision, causing delays. Expect congestion on the M4 westbound from junction 40 to junction 46. Leeds has delays of up to 40 minutes on the M62 between junctions 27 and 30. 2 lanes are closed on the M4 westbound between junctions 13 and 14. In Surrey, 2 lanes are closed clockwise on the M25 between junctions 5 and 6. And on the trains, expect delays between Birmingham New Street and Cheltenham Spa. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Hello everybody, Dewbs and with me, Michelle Dewberry. I've got Matt Goodwin and Sebastian Selleck alongside me. There's been such a huge outpouring of respect, basically, and love for Jim Gettings, the 100-year-old veteran that I played you earlier on in the programme. Rod says, Jim, you've saved us all, bless you. Peter says, Jim is what Britain is all about. How lovely. Claire says, please, thank you, Jim. That brought tears, she says, to my eyes. And Philip has said, Michelle, I've just been on the ONS life expectancy calculator. He says, I've only got a 1.7% chance of making it to 100 years old. I didn't even know there was such a calculator. I'm going to have a go at it. I don't think I'll fare too great on that either. Anyway, look, we need to talk about the absolute state of our prisons. We've followed this many times before in terms of so-called mistaken release of prisoners. Well, it turns out now, today, that another 3 prisoners have indeed been mistakenly released that are still at large. Now, I need to be clear about this. Those 3 are part of 91 prisoners that was released between the end of April this year, between April and the end of October. Now, if you strip out the weekends and the bank holidays, that makes about 3 prisoners a working week by my rough estimations. This is farcical.
Yeah, I think that's the right word for it. I mean, it's complete and utter chaos. And if you look at every available measure that we've got, every statistic, it's got a lot worse under Labour. But the Tories were, you know, not just as bad, but they were certainly pretty poor at managing our prisons. Of course, they started to release criminals early because there wasn't capacity in the prison service. The Labour Party then brought in the rule that if you served 40% of your sentence, you can be released early. So we've got more criminals on the streets than we've had previously, sex offenders, violent criminals. And ultimately, neither Labour nor the Tories have invested in our prison system over the last 10, 15, 20 years, which again is why, you know, we need a radical change of politics if we're going to deal with this issue and get the long-term response we need. I mean, I find it fascinating still that we can build the Nightingale Hospital in a matter of weeks. You know, it came from nowhere, but we can't increase prison capacity And we don't apply the same entrepreneurial spirit, we don't apply the same yes we can spirit to the prison system. And it's completely bonkers to me. One other thing we could do again, by the way, is we could leave the European Convention on Human Rights and we could deport the 11,000 foreign criminals that we have in our prison cells, which are costing the people who are watching this show, it's costing £600 million every year, just feeding and looking after foreign criminals who have come into our country and have broken our laws. Well, they should go, I think, as well.
I mean, you are a Labour Party councillor. Do you feel a little bit embarrassed when you look at your performance when it comes to prison management?
Yeah, I mean, I think of the prison system like a leaky bucket, and the Tories were holding it for a bit, and now Labour is holding it, and something has to be done. Look, is it good that prisoners are being released or having to be released even? No, that's not ideal at all. I'm pleased to see Lammy standing up today and announcing measures, investment into the tech, investment into making sure that the system works as it should, the safeguards that need to be there to make sure that people aren't released without any intention. It's interesting, the Nightingale stuff. Because I think, I mean, look, it's a leak. It was in the Telegraph. We don't know if it's going to come to fruition. But certainly the plans that Labour are talking about seem quite similar. It's just taking people from prison, putting them elsewhere. I don't think it's a million miles away.
Just to be clear, these so-called accidental releases from prison, they've actually increased under the Labour government. Something else I thought was absolutely farcical was that there was conversations about removing women from prisons, putting them into more kind of rehabilitative care. Those plans or those ideas were leaked by accident to Robert Jenrick. I mean, the Labour Party shambolic.
Oh, hang on, Michelle, that was a civil servant.
So what? But I mean, come on, how can you...
But you can't blame that on the Labour Party. It was shambolic, but you can't blame that on the Labour Party.
Situation where Robert Jenrick, you've just told me that this government is so hot on the detail, that is so absolutely determined to sort all of this out and that they're bottoming down on everything. How can you have a situation where you've got leaks to Robert Jenrick, of all people, no offence to the guy, but he is the last person that should be receiving these things? And anyway, why should women, prisoners, criminals, get special treatment compared to men?
So first of all, we don't know that this is necessarily going to happen. It sounds like it's something that is being considered.
Do you think it should be?
Look, I think when it comes to one of these issues, it's a bit like the asylum crisis. We have to be really creative. We have to think about all of the avenues we can possibly go down. And look, I appreciate Reform's thinking on this. I think Nightingale prisons, blue sky thinking, brilliant, innovative, it's great. So look, I don't know whether this is good or not. I'm not an expert.
I'm sorry. I'm still getting over the suggestion Labour's been creative on the asylum crisis, because this week, of course, we've also seen a second migrant who came into the country illegally was sent back to France. He's come back in again on the small boat. You've turned our border security into a game of hokey-cokey.
Is Labour was the only party who managed to get the French round the table for a start.
No, it's not working.
Getting a deal and then starting to implement it.
Sebastian,
that is creativity if I ever saw it.
I have seen footage on the beaches in France. I've seen British men that have gone to the beaches to try and see what's going on, film it and share it. You might think it's great that the French have got round a table to take our money. The French shouldn't be so quick to get round the tables. They should be quick to get on the beaches, actually doing what they're supposed to be doing and taking our money for.
The point I'm making
stopping those crossings
is that I'm saying there are creative solutions, and I don't think we can call the deal we've got with France anything other than creative.
I find it an absolute preposterous waste of money, and I would be getting them around that table and I would be telling them not only do they not get a single more penny from the British taxpayers, they will actually have to start repaying some of our taxpayer pounds because of their absolute poor performance. That's what I'd be doing. So no, I don't think it's creative. No, I don't celebrate it. I think it's absolutely appalling that my viewers are having to pay for this absolutely out-of-control situation. Speaking of out of control, you've all followed the Bell Hotel. There's been a ruling on that. We'll discuss after the break. I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Dewbs & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here with GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community.
So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers
have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hello everybody, Michelle Dewberry, Matt Goodwin and Sebastian Selleck alongside me. Lots of you getting in touch there. Michelle, what about all of the empty disused prisons? What about all of these islands that we have in this country? Why can't something like Nightingale be knocked up there? I hear you. Anyway, look, I'm so sorry. I wanted to give that veteran a lot of time earlier on in the programme, so it means that we're slightly squeezed for this bit. But the Bell Hotel, we've all followed this. Today, a High Court ruling has basically rejected an attempt to prevent asylum seekers being housed there. Matt Goodwin.
Well, I think it's absolutely outrageous. This is the ruling class imposing a decision on the people that they did not want. Mothers, fathers, grandparents protesting against the sexual assault of a 14-year-old girl in their neighbourhood. And what is this Labour government doing? It is forcing people out there to pay £15 billion in accommodation costs for people they do not want in their country, unvetted, young, fighting-age men. We didn't vote for this. We didn't ask for this. We don't want them to be put in the heart of our communities. We want them to be processed offshore. We want them to be detained and deported and removed from the country. We certainly don't want to impose these enormous costs on the local people of Essex and people across the country for a policy that they never asked for, never voted for. This was not in any manifesto. Labour said they'd stop the hotels. The hotels are up 8%.
Matt, you're talking a lot about politics. This was a judicial decision. This is a legal decision. You can't combine the two.
Give me a break.
You can't say this is political as soon as it's something you don't agree with. It's Armistice Day today. A lot of men died for our country.
Do you think they'd want to see decisions like this?
One of the things they died for
Do you think they'd want to see decisions like this?
to be able to be maintained and see questions.
Do you think those veterans died to see the UK government putting illegal migrants ahead of British people?
They died to uphold the rule of law. The reality of it is it means that sometimes they make decisions that you don't like. That's what judges do. It's for all of us to respect that. If we stop doing that, the whole system falls apart.
Nobody... Can we just stop catastrophising? Nobody is saying give up on the justice system.
Stop catastrophising. Matt!
You're from the Reform Party. You spent the whole of the summer talking about civil war.
No, I didn't talk about what
the Reform has. Farage has. Your boss has. So don't tell me to stop catastrophising, because if there's one thing Reform does, it's catastrophise.
200,000 illegal migrants coming into the country, not checked, being put into our communities next to families, schools and synagogues.
Again, you're talking about politics. It's a legal decision. Don't mix the two.
You're washing your hands of this disaster.
Washing my hands.
You presided over total chaos.
Don't mix the two things up. It doesn't look good.
Well, you're talking about catastrophe. I wouldn't go far as civil war, but many people watching this programme will think actually what goes on in this country is catastrophic. Many of you will be thinking to yourself, why is a national emergency not been declared a long time ago when it comes to these not-so-small boat crossings? I can hear you shouting, don't worry about that. Anyway, look, as I said, apologies for this very short final part, but I did want to give Jim Gettings, that amazing veteran, some time tonight. As he said, thank you for listening to me. Night.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening. It's time for your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Through the next 24 hours, there will be more rain to come for many places, but also some dry and bright weather, particularly across a central slice of the UK. Now, we currently have an area of low pressure out towards the west, and this is driving some blustery winds and some wet weather due to a frontal system that's marching its way across. We have a front clearing away towards the north as we go overnight, but lingering across the far north of Scotland, and then a front pushing eastwards, but also lingering across some southern southeastern parts, so a fair bit of rain to come. But in between those two wetter areas where things will stay pretty mild, there's some drier, clearer weather, and here things could turn a little fresh. Some rural spots could drop into low single figures perhaps. But in the south, where we have this cloud and rain, it is going to be a wet and blustery start to the day for many places. The rain could be quite heavy, particularly in the southwest. Across much of Wales and central England, dry but cloudy to start. Brighter across much of Northern Ireland, Northern England and southern Scotland. Across the rest of Scotland, though, quite cloudy, outbreaks of rain, and some of the rain could be a little bit